All right, the true cost of a Tyreek Hill trade. I'm Lando from the Lando Show,
All right.
and this is Sports Below the Surface.
I am inevitable.
I've seen a lot of deliberation about this potential. I wrote about it, did a YouTube video about it, trade targets. You can find that on my platform about 2 weeks ago now. It's picked up steam a little bit, especially since Stephen Jones went, pretty much viral with his words at the owners' meetings about looking for an explosive wide receiver too. Tyreek Hill is obviously that, but how realistic is this potential move actually? We're going to look at it right now. My time is money, and obviously I respect yours, so we will waste none of it. Let's get right to it right after this. First thing I want to do, per usual, is just refer to the article in written form that's going to sort of be the guideline. CowboysCountry.com is where you can find all my written work. And that's what we will be. That will be the source of this potential, or this particular trade potential here. All right. So Tyreek Hill has obviously made with some cryptic tweets in the recent days about his departure from Miami. It seems almost inevitable that's a team right now that's probably looking to retool. Tyreek Hill does come with a rather expensive price tag, and we're going to talk about exactly everything that involves both sides, the financial situations from the Miami Dolphins and the Dallas Cowboys. But it's rather nuanced, right? Because of one particular deadline or date. It's incredibly important to keep in mind the way that impacts each organization's salary cap. Okay, the post June 1 deadline, and we're going to cover all that. All right, so the most important thing that I want to consider here, and thank you to David Gregg, by the way. This tweet, I don't know how I found this. I was doing a deep dive, obviously, so lots of digging behind the scenes. We're going to thank a couple different people here because my brain literally was in a pretzel this morning. I was pretty candid about it. But David Gregg here, this was just a helpful chart to visualize things, and it was just very organized, and it was a good way to help me process it. I hope that's the same for you. We're going to pull that up here, and then also to really finalizing the financial nuances of this potential business deal. Professor O, and you'll see him. Actually, let's just go ahead and pull him up too real quick. I told him I would tell him thank you. Included him in a hyperlink as well as a embedded link to my tweet, just because I really appreciate it. Like I said, my brain was in a pretzel, and he helped me sort some of the things out. What really caused me to have that hiccup, where I got confused, is the prorated option guarantees with Tyreek Hill. So the interesting thing is, and here's Bro right here. This is his Twitter handle. If you want to follow him, he's a fantastic follow. He knows his stuff, very respectful, very, very unique mind in the NFL world. So at Professor O_NFL, let's find him. Thank you once again for your help behind the scenes, my friend. Let's go ahead. So right here, okay, overthecap.com does a very good job of detailing this, and you'll see this highlighted portion here where my cursor currently sits, the option proration. All right, so that's one of the things that you sort of have to factor in. But the interesting thing about this with Tyreek Hill, and as it relates to the Dolphins, is their deal. This option proration, normally when it comes to contracts and things like that, contract extensions, you will have these figures that become fully guaranteed at the start of the new league year. So for instance, this year would have been March 12th. That's usually when these types of things are reflected. So like the team would be officially accountable for that on their financial structure of their salary cap early in the year. This particular instance here, though, is unique because Tyreek Hill's option proration. So you see these $3.17 million figures, 5 of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way into the 2029 calendar year. Those are basically, they're just bonuses that the Dolphins negotiated into Tyreek Hill's contract when they extended him back in 2024. So why that's important is because the acquiring team, or I guess I should say the Dolphins, right? They now have up until August to make a move before they are fully responsible for that extra 15 mil. So that gives them plenty of time to make a decision or a determination on the best way for them to move forward. Do they make a trade for Tyreek Hill prior to June 1? For instance, I guess in other words, during or before the draft. That's the key here, okay? Because we're 20 some odd days out now. They could cut Tyreek Hill before or after June 1st. They could trade Tyreek Hill before or after June 1st. I'll just go ahead and cut to the chase and tell you guys right now that cutting him is not an option. Okay? And I'm going to show you those figures again, but they're going to trade him. It's just a matter of before or during the draft or after June 1st. Okay? And there's a reason why that specific why there's a difference there, because it's basically the cap impact for the Dolphins. It does not change for the Dallas Cowboys necessarily. All right, for the Miami Dolphins though, it's a significantly different cap reflection, whether or not they trade him before June 1st or after. Okay, but this number here though, so they basically overthecap.com. Once again, I'll just share this tab. I'll highlight it for you. Miami did not include a large roster bonus in 2025 as part of the deal, and they lowered his salary cap through the use of an option bonus worth $15.85 million. So that $3.1 million figure that you saw track times 5, that's where you get the $15.85 million. That's where that comes from. So, but they continue, but with a date that is basically tied to the start of the regular season. So it's late August or early September now, when that would become fully guaranteed to the Dolphins. So in other words, they're going to get rid of him. They're going to trade him. It's just a matter of, is it going to be in the summer or before, during the draft? Okay. Pre-June 1 or post-June 1. All right. We got that. So now here's the figures and why cutting him is an impossibility. Or if they did, it just would be absolutely devastating. Okay. This tweet here that I alluded to at the beginning from David Gregg, who there was once again zero, like nobody had interacted with this tweet, and I just can't figure out why or how, because it was so well organized and so detailed. He saved me a lot of time. So here's the bells and whistles, y'all. Pre-June release, or in other words, cut. If they cut him before June 1st, devastating to their cap situation. They basically would be paying $57 million not to have Tyreek Hill. Right? And they lose $29 million on their cap savings. Because right now, where that number comes from, Tyreek Hill right now accounts for $27 million against their salary cap. Okay. So eliminate that top left quadrant from this specific year. Okay. That's out of the question. There's no, I mean, it's possible, but that's almost impossible that's going to happen. All right. A post June 1 release. So the bottom left quadrant now. $2025 dead cap of $41 million. So if they cut him before June 1st, they have a $57 million dead cap charge. If they cut him after June 1st, they have a $41 million dead cap charge. So it's still a little bit cheaper, right? Technically, they don't lose quite as much money, but all that's to say is cutting him ain't happening. Okay, so it's they're gonna trade him, right? Now, if they trade him before June 1st, here's where it gets a little bit interesting. During the draft, let's say, okay, both teams get antsy. All this preparation, the last, it's really their scouting department for the last 7 months. Really, it's like a full calendar year that they prepare for this upcoming class. But then the season ends, right? So it's everybody in the Dolphins front office, all their coaching staff, all their scouting department, everybody with a credential in that building. responsible for winning on Sundays is preparing for this day, the draft day, right? This month, April. It's now April 1st. If they trade him, if they get antsy and they think that, okay, well, the Cowboys are going to flip us a 2 this year as opposed to in 2026, we'll go ahead and we'll eat that extra money. So they would eat essentially 13 or let's make sure my math is correct here. So it's a $16 million difference in dead cap for the Dolphins if they trade him before the draft or after. Okay. Pre-June 1 or post. Those are synonymous terms here. So if you hear me refer to it differently, I apologize, but just know that they're one and the same for the most part. Okay. 6-1 pre and post equals draft pre and post. It's the same thing. Okay. So the Dolphins get antsy. They're like, you know what? We'd really like to have that Cowboys pick in 2025, this draft cycle, as opposed to next year. We don't want to wait that long. We'll eat the extra $16 million just to have that extra 2 this year, or whatever the compensation would be. That's tough to pinpoint, but there's good work out there predicting, and I have it listed here. I'll just save that for a second. But let's just talk twos for the sake of the argument, okay? Dolphins get antsy. There's a player that they have graded highly at the top of the second round. Say they really need that Cowboys 44. Let's go ahead and get it done. You know what, Cowboys? We'll take your 2025 now, if you're willing. And it's worse for us because we're eating $16 million more dollars of dead money, but we want that pick this year. That's what they would be essentially weighing. It's nothing because the charge to the Cowboys cap situation doesn't change pre or post, but it changes for the Dolphins. So for them, it's tricky. They're best served. In other words, once again, post June 1, because that saves them an extra $16 million. But the thing is, they could be having 3 top 50 picks this year and don't want to wait until next year to see the return on the Tyreek Hill departure. They could bite the bullet on the 16 mil and say, all right, let's get it done now. Teams get antsy. As Vosh Lombardi always says, teams suck at drafting. They'll do something stupid because it's a lack of foresight, or it's an impatience that gets the best of them. Right? Now. I want my money now. I want my cake now. It's a microwave society in general. So, it's easy to understand or to fabricate that thought process of, yeah, we could see the Dolphins doing that. Even though most of their fans, you go look in their comments section back in January when somebody posted something similar. It was one of the top Dolphins fans accounts. It's Fins something, and I forget the name. So forgive me for that. But I was reading through the comments, like I said, doing a deep dive on this, seeing like where is their fan base at with Tyreek Hill? Where is their fan base at with their cap situation? Trying to just understand it from every perspective so that I can present it to you guys in the most palatable manner. All their fans were saying, well, so it sounds like they're trading him post June 1. They're not cutting him. They're not trading him before the draft or during. They want to do it after because that's what saves them the most money. Okay. And that option bonus that we talked about at the beginning, that 3.1 over the next 5 years, which totals about 15.85 mil, having that set to initiate in August as opposed to March when most contract bonuses are initiated, that gives them more time to do this. So it makes the post June 1 trade seem more likely because they've sort of predisposed that reality within the Tyreek Hill contract itself. It's built in. They're saying, okay, look, we're probably going to trade him. We're going to give ourselves an extra 6 months to figure it out. If somebody doesn't just blow us away. Okay. And so the reason why they are anticipating not being blown away on draft day is because of what we're going to talk about, which is the ultimate premise of why this trade, in my opinion, is very unlikely because of what the money looks like in 2026. It's a palatable number right now for the Cowboys in 2025. If they were to, let's go ahead and get back to the article. Okay, if they were to trade for Tyreek Hill, and this is where Professor O really helped me, because this is the number I stuck on because of the option bonus. That's why I was so confused. The Cowboys would take on a $14.9 million cap hit this year in 2025. So Tyreek Hill costs $15 million in 2025, on top of whatever draft capital that you send their direction to acquire his services. Okay, so it's expensive because you're paying for a player twice. You're paying the Dolphins draft capital, and then you're paying the player financial capital. Right? It's a double whammy. Right? That's why it's expensive. That's why it's highly unlikely, in my opinion. But it doesn't get even more 26, which is that $14.9 million cap hit in 2025, $9 million in 2026. But the interesting thing is, the Dolphins pretty much built in that 2026 compensation to inflate the average annual salary, the average figure. Does that make sense? Let me check the chat. I haven't done that yet, and I apologize for that. Marcus McFarland and MZ_Cowboys 1986 in the house. So he says, no way, Lando, for real. So that's the thing. It's possible, MZ, but to me, just because of the financial situation, like this, the ultimate punchline, right? This is why, like, in summary, in layman's terms, in the most easy to understand manner, okay? The numbers, you can make the numbers work, but you don't want to have to enter that 2026 season staring at $39 million in the face of a player who's dependent upon speed, really, entering his age 33 season. None of the 2026 compensation is guaranteed. So it's a lot more cap gymnastics, really, is what it comes to, and that's a lot of work for a team that has shown us that they're deliberately getting younger all across the board. Jack Sanborn, Peyton Turner, Kyer Elam, Javonte Williams. Those are all 25 years and under guys. Micah Parsons is 25. Osadigi Zua, 20. Is he 27? He'll be 26 or 27. I forget how old Osa is, but he's still in the prime of his career, clearly. Right? It's a youth movement. But they were in the Cooper Cup sweepstakes, so there are clearly exceptions, which once again is why I say this is possible here. I'm not ruling it out. I'm just saying don't get your hopes up, because teams way overvalue their draft picks entering the draft this year. So acquiring him, once again, during or before the draft from the Dolphins, very unlikely, because the Cowboys covet that too much. But then it becomes more difficult to wage his worth when you're negotiating for future draft capital for, once again, a guy that's by the end of the 2026, or by the 2026 year, when the money really gets difficult, is going to be about 33 years old. What team is willing to move a two to go and acquire him? Right? Just to eat the 2026 cap alone, we might be talking about something way less than that. I honestly don't know. But I just wanted to show in its simplest form, okay, the Cowboys would essentially be sending, and here it is right here. This is a piece put out from Anthony Goss back on March 29th. Uh, it was Ian Valentino of the 33rd team that believes the Cowboys should make a major splash and trade for Miami Dolphins receiver Tyreek Hill, basically giving up the number 44 pick and next year's third rounder. That's a lot, guys. It's a lot of compensation. That's expensive for a team that has predominantly built their entire foundation, right? It's one of the three main pillars of team building. The Cowboys more so, as much or more so than any other franchise, rely solely on that one singular pillar. This year, they've been a lot more aggressive than in years past in the free agent market, and they've even to the tune of adding a couple different players via trade. That takes foresight, that takes extra homework, that takes aggression, So that's a great sign. But are you giving up a 2 and a 3 consecutive years after you just given up consecutive 4s? I don't know. But so here's where it really gets interesting. So the last thing that I want to leave you guys with, I'm going to get myself back on the screen here. The Cowboys currently have about $35 million in cap space, right? Tyreek Hill in year one would cost $14.9 million. Where it gets very interesting is that the seemingly imminent extension of Micah Parsons would almost directly offset that. So see, I'm kind of tying the two things in here, and I haven't really seen anybody speculate or talk about that angle of this potential trade. But we're seeing the Joneses, Stephen Jones talking about, yeah, we're always looking to we're especially looking to add a second explosive wide receiver, and then Brian Schottenheimer this morning talking about, looking under. I think he said indirect quote, don't quote me, but it was like, you know, into every corner and uncovering every hole, like for better or worse. They're talking about it, right? And they were in on Cooper Kupp. We got Dak and CD that are recruiting behind the scenes, and all this other momentum that's happening. The 8 pillars that I've written about. It started with 5, the 5-point promise. You can see that on CowboysCountry.com. But then it turned into 7 after the CD and the Dak restructures, and now it's officially 8 after yesterday's happenings with the whole Micah situation and Steven, all but alluding to, hey, yeah, we're still trying to make trades. We're still trying to add via free agency. Brian Schottenheimer said the same exact thing. Y'all have to listen to these interviews, guys. Brian Schottenheimer is one of the most well-spoken, the most well-spoken Cowboys head coach that I can recall, more so than Mike McCarthy. Jason Garrett was well-spoken, but he was just, he was too buttoned up. He was coach speak. You didn't get anything from Jason. Shotty will tell you straight up. He'll give you clues. But he'll eloquently state it in the process. And that's what he did today. We're looking. We're knocking. We're uncovering. Say you're at 35 mil right now in cap space. Subtract 15 for Tyreek Hill in year 1. Just in theory, complete hypothetical. You can add 15 million of that roughly right back the second you extend Micah Parsons. Right back to square one, 35 million. Roughly 10 gets allocated to the rookie class. And then you got some for a rainy day left over. You can make it work. It's just not very likely. Garrett Wilson's my number one pick too, but I just don't, I said he was my preference in my trade video, and I listed all the reasons for why. The price, the youth, the arrow pointed straight up. Off the field, good kid. No character concerns whatsoever. From Texas. A lot of parallels there with Garrett Wilson, but I think he's happy in New York. And right now he's more or less the face of their franchise. So they just acquired Justin Fields, and it just doesn't make a ton of sense for a team to try to make to try to kick ours on a top 5 overall caliber quarterback, seeing what they can't get out of him, to just go ahead and trade their top weapon away in the process. It doesn't make sense to me personally. Their MZ Cowboys says they're going to draft the guy. They absolutely will. It's very, very likely that it'll be at 12. But then on top of that, so you're talking about potentially looking at, if you really wanted to, if the front office, if the coaching staff felt that was their lowest hanging fruit, imagine CeeDee Lamb, Tetaroa McMillan, and Tyreek Hill. That's 3 guys with different skill sets complementing each other. Now that's a fun concept right there. But for 1 year, are you 1 year away? I don't know. That's debatable. You're talented, but you're still pretty top heavy in my opinion. Health permitting, anything can happen, but that's a massive. Yeah, you know what? I just remembered they played together in college too, huh? That's crazy. So yeah, Garrett Wilson, we can kiss that premise goodbye. He's a stud. I would love to have his services, but it's just not. It's not in the cards. Not gonna happen. Did they play together? 1 year, maybe. Trying to think, because it was Fields, then CJ, and then what's old buddy's name? Will Howard. Dang, Justin Fields was really drafted, 5 years ago now? Dude, time is flying. That's crazy. Okay, so anyway, I hope that this was that you learned something, that this was enlightening for you. I forgot to mention at the top, thank you to the official sponsor, the official partner of the Lando Show, Waggle. You see it right here on the side of my head. WAGGLE. Get your wagglon.com. Code HOZZLE10, HOZZLE10 for 10% off. The best, and I'm telling you guys, the fastest growing golf apparel manufacturer in the game. And that will be reflected. That Waggle will become a household name here very shortly. But very thankful, very appreciative for them and the work that they do. Exciting things to come as a result for both Waggle and the Lando Show and my golf endeavor, Hozzle and Hack. So just super humbled by their support. And I thank you as well for yours. Make sure that you hit that like button. Tell a friend where to find me. We got more stuff coming. I got a couple collaborations en route either tonight or tomorrow with Foots and my guy Ray GQ. Can't wait to have those conversations with them. It should be pretty enlightening. I know for a fact I always learn something when I talk to other high profile creators. And I hope that you guys do the same. So if that's the case, if you enjoyed this content, don't forget, the best way to support us is to just either like the video or share it with a friend if you haven't already. Remember, prayer changes things, and the war's already won. Love you guys, and I will talk to y'all soon.